There is a moment, you know the one, when someone finally treats you the way you always said you wanted to be treated. They text back. They show up. They remember the small things. And instead of relaxing into it, something in you tightens. Why does safety feel like a threat? You find a flaw. You pick a fight over nothing. You go quiet for no reason you can explain. And weeks later, you're standing in the wreckage of something good, wondering, did I actually do that to myself? Here's the unsettling truth. You didn't fall out of love. You ran from being loved. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why and how to stop. This isn't another video telling you to just communicate better or choose better partners. This is a forensic breakdown of the internal machinery that makes healthy love feel unbearable to people who, on paper, want it more than anything. We're going to walk through the exact psychological chain reaction, from childhood attachment wiring, to the nervous system's threat detection, to the quiet, sabotaging behaviors you might not even recognize as sabotage. And if you stay until the end, I'll give you the single reframe that therapists use to help people finally let love in without flinching. Here's something almost nobody tells you about the human brain. It isn't wired to seek happiness. It's wired to seek familiarity. If your early relationships taught you that love was unpredictable, conditional, or something you had to earn through vigilance, then calm, consistent affection doesn't register as safe. It registers as unfamiliar. And to a nervous system built on old patterns, unfamiliar reads as dangerous. Think about it this way. If you grew up bracing for disappointment, then a partner who never disappoints you doesn't feel like relief. It feels like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. So some part of you, not the conscious, rational part, but the old, protective part, starts looking for a reason to drop it yourself. Because at least then, you're the one in control of when it ends. That is the first domino. Self-sabotage isn't self-destruction for its own sake. It's an attempt at control disguised as chaos. Underneath almost every pattern of pushing love away sits one quiet, corrosive belief. I am not someone who gets to keep this. Psychologists call this a core wound of unworthiness, and it rarely announces itself directly. It doesn't say, you don't deserve love. It's sneakier than that. It disguises itself as suspicion. Why would someone this good want me? It disguises itself as hypervigilance. They're going to see the real me eventually. And it disguises itself as preemptive exit. I'll leave before they leave. Here's the part that reframes everything. Self-sabotage isn't a character flaw. It's grief, arriving early. Some part of you has already decided the relationship will end, so you begin mourning it in advance, distancing yourself as a kind of emotional insurance policy. The tragedy is that this insurance often becomes the very thing that causes the loss. And because the belief operates below conscious awareness, it doesn't feel like fear. It feels like truth. That's what makes it so dangerous. You're not lying to yourself on purpose. You genuinely believe the story your nervous system is telling you. Self-sabotage rarely looks like a single dramatic act. It looks like 1,000 small withdrawals. Let's name a few, because naming them is the first step to catching yourself in the act. Manufactured conflict. Starting arguments over trivial things right when intimacy is deepening, because conflict feels more manageable than closeness. The preemptive strike. Ending things, or emotionally checking out, the moment you sense the other person could genuinely hurt you, so you technically win by leaving first. Testing behavior. Pushing boundaries or withdrawing affection specifically to see if they'll leave, because some part of you needs the disappointment confirmed rather than left as an open question. And chronic dissatisfaction. A moving goalpost where no partner is ever quite right. Because if you can always find the flaw, you never have to risk fully investing. Notice that none of these are conscious decisions. That's the point. They're protective reflexes, executed by a part of you trying to keep you safe from a wound that's already healed. Except your nervous system never got the memo. Here's where the science gets genuinely fascinating. Deep intimacy activates the same neural circuitry as vulnerability, and vulnerability, to a threat-detecting brain, looks almost identical to danger. Your amygdala doesn't distinguish between this person might reject me and this person might harm me. It just fires the alarm. Cortisol rises. Your body prepares to fight, flee, or freeze, right at the exact moment your heart is opening. This is why people can feel anxious, irritable, or suffocated during the best parts of a relationship. The vacation that went perfectly, The conversation where someone said I love you and meant it. The nervous system isn't malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it was trained to do. Treat undefended emotional exposure as a 5-alarm fire. The tragedy is that the very people capable of loving you well are often the ones who trigger this the hardest, because real love asks you to lower every defense you spent years building. Here is the reframe worth carrying with you. The urge to sabotage is not proof that you're incapable of love. It's proof that love, for you, has historically been dangerous, and your mind is simply out of date on the risk assessment. The goal was never to silence that alarm system overnight. It's to notice it firing, name it out loud, even just to yourself, and choose, in that single moment, to stay instead of strike first. Every person who has ever learned to receive love well started exactly where you are right now, catching themselves mid-pattern and choosing differently just once. That's not a small thing. That's the entire process. If this video put language to something you felt but never quite understood, that's exactly the kind of psychology we decode here every week. Subscribe if you want more of this, the kind of insight that doesn't just inform you, but actually changes how you move through your relationships. And I want to hear from you. Which of these patterns did you recognize in yourself? Tell me in the comments, because I promise you, whoever reads it next will feel a little less alone for having seen it named.